no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Senior Citizen Podcast, and we are here with an interview that I've been wanting to happen for a very long time. Nikollaj!
Hi, nice to meet you. Where do I look? This is so intimidating.
We have a 3-camera setup, but that one's just mine. I'm selfish. That's for both of us, and then that's for you by yourself when you want to talk to the people, all right?
Got it.
How are you?
Pretty good. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy you're here. I want to get into, we're going to start from now and then going backwards, I guess. So
Absolutely.
With the closure.
Yes, with closure. Finally got some closure.
It's nice. Some of us never do.
Yeah, right?
How'd you join Clozure? Yeah.
So it was like a work in progress. I kind of had a separation with the last band. I've been following you since my last band. So I've been wanting to do this like podcast for a while, guys. And I had a bad breakup. I had like a really crappy year, pretty much for 2022, 2023. And me and my band broke up. I wanted to quit music. And then my now band Closure's manager was messaging me on like all different accounts that he manages, like his dog's Instagram account, his personal, his band account, basically like asking like, hey, do you want to sing again? And I was in a weird point in my life where I thought about quitting music. So then a random Tuesday, I answered a message. I did like a FaceTime with like one of the bandmates, like the drummer, Mike. And a week later, I was flying to Alabama and like meeting a bunch of strangers that I've never met before.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that is closure.
When you answered, was it to the dog page at least?
No, I actually ignored the dog page because I thought it was like some creepy dude that posts a bunch of photos of his dog. And you know how it is like in the music scene, right? So everybody knows everybody, but there's always like that weird handful of people where you're like, yeah, I see him at every show, but he's really weird. Like there's always those few like handfuls of people.
Yeah.
And I thought it was one of those dudes where he's like, I'm a manager of a band. And I'm like, okay, like we're good. And then when I saw his other accounts, his MK Music account and like his personal account, I was like, oh wait, no, he actually does manage bands. This is interesting.
Oh, so you were real.
Yeah, so you are real. And maybe I shouldn't quit music. And then that's kind of how it happened.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't quit.
Me too.
How did you get into music, basically? How did you get into singing?
Similar to the last band story, I got kicked out of choir in middle school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they told me I couldn't sing. So then for some odd reason, that's exactly why I was fueled to want to sing. So I have like this like thing similar to like the devil effect and how I write a lot of music. If people tell me I can't do something, I just like really, I want to do it then.
Right.
So, I mean, pretty much I got kicked out of middle school choir. I wanted to sing in high school. I had to have my friend that was in choir audition to sing in choir while I was in guitar class because I actually wanted to be a guitarist. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do vocals. And so we auditioned where I played guitar and she sang. But then the day of the show, I sang and she played guitar. And it was just an excuse to get into like the choir talent show. Oh, because the girl that was doing the auditions didn't even want me to like audition. Like she looked me dead in the face and was like, I don't want another female singer. I want a boy singer. And then like refused my audition.
Was it another high schooler or was it like?
It was a teacher. Yeah, I can't even make this up. It was a teacher. So yeah, my whole life, basically everyone was like, you know, maybe you shouldn't sing, maybe you shouldn't do whatever. But I was a very avid like music supporter. So, I mean, I really knew the local scene and I live in Lake Mary, Orlando area. So I knew the local scene in Sanford and Lake Mary. And I was the kid that would like sneak into coffee shops at like 14, 15, where you're supposed to be like 18 and over to like drink and like watch the show just to like watch local artists. So I think it was gonna happen inevitably. It's just the fuel to my fire wasn't necessarily support. It was like the exact opposite. And that's kind of how I got into music, I guess.
Were you self-taught for the singing or did you end up taking classes at some point? YouTube. I
have like a full-on degree from YouTube. Karaoke.
There's only some very particular karaoke songs that I can sing because it's weird when you don't have the lyrics, right?
Well, yeah. See, if I don't know it, like by mind, I won't do it because I have like an insecurity of fucking up someone else's song.
Exactly.
Am I allowed to?
Yes, you're allowed to.
Oh. Okay, good.
No, and all those songs that I can particularly sing are like old lady Spanish songs.
Really?
Like, yeah, like basically probably like 90s, just
like
señora music.
Like, really?
Yes.
Wait, so hold on, but like you like rock music, so you don't have like your go-to classic rock songs that you do?
I would
like Seven
never...
Nation Army. Anyone can sing that, like literally anyone.
I at emo karaoke, I did Situations by Escape the Fate because I know it by heart, but it was bad. But then the funny part is that for the video, my boyfriend was recording the whole time, but you only hear him singing along because he was all excited, like Mean Girls mom level.
Oh, that's cute though.
It was cute, but yeah.
You're a guy that like supports you when you're like tipsy and singing karaoke.
Basically.
Yeah, see, I wish.
And then go-to is like Dancing Queen for like English stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
My go-to is Black Velvet from Alana Miles or Alana. I don't know. The Black Velvet in that little boy's eyes. You know that song?
No.
Black Velvet in that slow southern style. Really?
No?
No, that's like a go-to blues song.
Really?
Yeah, so Black Velvet or Before He Cheats from Carrie Underwood.
Oh, yeah, Before He Cheats. Yeah.
I mean, that's like the OG country ex-boyfriend I hate you song.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a good like 2 a.m. I'm really drunk right now.
Before He Cheats was made so Taylor could walk. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like that. And it's also a really good song. And every like shiesty girl in like the bar will sing with you, and every guy will be slightly turned on that like you're that angry. So it's like my go-to song. I don't sing rock and roll, ironically, when I do karaoke, which is the strangest thing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I know. I don't even listen to a lot of rock. I just prefer writing it and singing it.
Jeez. That's
Weird.
cool though. That's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay, so the double effect.
Anyways.
Amazingly at almost 200K views at this point, probably more by the time this comes out. Let's hope for.
Yeah.
Number 1 on Amazon alt.
Yes.
Amazing.
Number 1 on the new release, and then number 2 on like most downloaded or something.
That's insane. How do you feel?
I have no idea. I mean, I think what kind of blew, because I don't use Amazon Music, like unless I'm using Amazon Prime or I get like the free like Prime, Amazon Prime TV, like I didn't even know people like listen to Amazon Music like that, which I mean, I'm taking support from like whoever, thank you so much. But I think the iTunes thing kind of hit me hard because if we hit 38, and it was like for like a day or two, which there's over, I think 40,000 songs that get released every month or every week on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the music industry now. So to think that I even charted in like the top 100 for like an hour, I'm cool with it. And I was like right above Fall Out Boy, and my brother was calling me and he's like, I think, what was it? It was Yellow by Coldplay,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know why my brother doesn't like Coldplay. I do, so like please don't come at me. But he's like, I can finally tell all my friends that you outsold Coldplay. I'm like, dude, maybe for like the hour, but like I'm pretty sure they're gonna go right back to where they are. I'm just accepting the moment. It's a lot. It's a lot, and sometimes I'm starting to think that like it's photoshopped, and like my bandmates are just not telling me sometimes.
Oh no.
Like literally, but like honestly, like you don't think that anything that well is gonna happen. And like I've had accomplishments with like my older band, and obviously I was extremely proud of those moments, but like those accomplishments tend to be like festival shows or talking to interviewers like you or like talking to fans. I've never been in a position where I got to just see numbers and try to like
Right, something solid, like you can put it.
yeah,
like,
like
hey,
I'm
we
looking
were
at
this.
it and I'm like, but what does this mean? Because like
Right.
normally I react from people, so like when I'm just seeing a number, I'm like, how many people is that? Or
Right.
like, what does this mean? Like I have no idea.
Well, I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
And the whole band, obviously.
I'm proud of the band. Thank God.
That's amazing. What's different to you in the chemistry of this band than your old band, you know? We're gonna talk tea. I like to talk shit.
Is 2024 a cancel year or was that just 2023?
It's every year.
Oh, great. Oh my God. So I feel like with music in general, at first I used to think it was because like there's like a girl to guy dynamic. Like, you know how it is in the music industry. There's not many girls, you know what I mean? To the point where like, I feel like female fronted is almost becoming its own genre because like every band feels inclined to push that it's female fronted if they are, you know what I mean? Like no male band will be like male fronted rock and roll act. But if it's like a female front, then obviously we're like female fronted rock and roll. Like it's like its own genre. I don't know why. So I used to think it was like the guy and girl kind of chemistry that like makes it different. And so when we first started my old band, The Dev, which I used to hate saying that name up until like literally this year, the chemistry was great. I mean, honestly, it was awesome. I thought that they were like brothers and whatnot. But the more and more you get into music, it's hard sometimes to like keep up with that relationship. And it genuinely is. And from guys to guys, they're always like keen and like comfortable with just being bros. When it's a girl and a guy, I think sometimes like the girl will operate something differently, or she'll like take in information differently than like a guy does. And if you don't constantly communicate as a band or as friends or whatnot, it slowly deteriorates. So that kind of happened with my last band. And, you know, I feel like by the end, there was like a lot of passive aggressiveness and it needed to end. Right. Did I want it to end? No, it actually like wasn't my decision. So ironically, like on their post, it says that, but like on mine, I walked into practice not having a single concept. And there was a lot of bullshit. Like I lost my father 1.5 years ago. So that was like a really big turmoil kind of moment in my life. And, you know, I sold a family business. I lost my dad. I moved. I was, you know, going through some like friendship breakups and like personal like life stuff all within a year. And then I also played Louder Than Life. And then I also like shot a music video and was recording music. So there was so much. I never had a break. And it just came down to the moment where my band was like, hey, we think you're not the same and we can do better off without you.
Wow.
And that was literally it. And I remember I was like crying. Like it was a horrible moment. Where I was like, you know, my dad just died, guys. Like I just moved. Like I sold my home that I lived with my parents, and, you know, I sold my restaurant to like support and be a full-time artist. And that was a really big, like, you know, decision to make, was like, do I want to maintain this business that like my father built, or do I want to start like running for my own dreams? And seeing my father slowly die, I didn't want to be like left in the shadows of like my father. Obviously I love him to death. And in my music video, you can even see like the jewelry that he bought me because I wanted to really represent him. But it was a hard moment. And then that's why I wanted to quit music, because I was like, oh my God, I literally pour my heart out to people left and right. I mean, I love talking and I love telling stories and whatnot, but like for my own bandmates to just drop me like this, it hurt. And when I found closure, in a weird way, I didn't believe anything. Like I actually thought that they were too nice. Right. Like I thought that they were all full of shit and they were like gonna hurt me, and like none of it was real, because that's how the first band started. Like it was just such good, you know, energy and emotions. And next thing you know, I meet them up, and the first song I managed to write was a Devil Effect. And it kind of has a little bit of a play on, because my old band was called The Dev, and this song was really kind of like my piece to say like how I felt. And I've never actually talked about this song, so I don't know why I'm doing it right now. I think the cameras are making me like nervous, but I've never actually explained it to like any of the followers or like any other podcasters or fans. But like that song personally for me wasn't a breakup about a boyfriend or anything. It was actually the breakup of like
the old band.
Yeah. And I feel like my boyfriends could tell me right now, like it's either me or music, and you can just fuck off. Like I'm choosing music every time. Like it is what it is. Like that's the only thing that's ever been there consistently for me. Right. So the Devil Effect was honestly a play on that. You know, we would have conversations in the band that it was not a family, it was a business, and that's how they wanted to operate. But like as an artist, and especially as a lyricist, I have to write my emotions. I have to sit in a room with a bunch of 6-foot dudes that look intimidating.
And be vulnerable.
Yeah. And, you know, to be in that feminine energy and to be able to like write like that, you can't look at people and just think that they're only business partners. Like to me, it needs to be a family.
Right. And I do see the dynamic in different bands that some of them do walk in here and it's like, it's a business. Yeah. And that works for them because that's their personalities.
By all means, go for it.
But there's other people that sit in here and they're like, no, we're a little family. Like we care about each other outside of this.
And I will say one thing. My favorite artist was Flyleaf. Like I loved Flyleaf. And, you know, it was a long time coming when my dad was sick that I used to... Do you ever have like a song that like subconsciously hits you and you don't know why it's hitting you a certain way? Yeah. And then like something will happen in your life. It's almost like it was foreshadowing. Like you're like the main character of a book and that song foreshadowed. There was a song called All Around Me from Flyleaf, specifically the acoustic version. And when my dad almost died like in 2019, 5 days before I ever played House of Blues for the first time, like my father was in the ICU. And my old band just got the break to play House of Blues. And it was up to the decision of, you know, do I cancel the show? Because like my dad's like in the ICU when he just had like a crazy surgery and we don't know if he's going to make it out. Or do I do the show and, you know, pray to God for the best? And literally the day before ICU, I got played on like WJRR, which is like a iHeart radio station. And he woke up and he was like, you better go to the show. So like, my whole career actually in that band, I think there was a lot happening. Yeah. And not a lot of artists talk about like their families or like their personal relationships. So I really started to hold on to my last band as like a support system. Right. And unfortunately, I don't think we ever had that communication or that conversation for them to know. And that was also my fault too. Like I could have probably told them more.
Yeah.
But when you listen to the song and you hear the phrases of like, there's nothing worse than a woman scorned, this hatred is newly born, like, yeah, woman born, all that. But I was really talking about like how I felt screwed over. And then in the second line where it's like, my army is my family, my home, it's because all my bandmates are veterans. And my manager's a veteran, and Justin, this guy that I'm really good friends with, traveling rocker, who's been supporting my, music career, and like he's given me a lot of advice through the breakup. He's a veteran. So it was kind of like to like, nah, this is my family, and like this is my army, this is what I'm supposed to be at. Right. So that's what the song means. And I think some people caught on to it, but I don't know if a lot of people did. Right. It's an interesting topic of a song.
I think if you don't know all the background lore, you kind of just do end up thinking it's a breakup. And it reminds me, I don't remember who it is that sings that song. It's a popular song though, and you see the people on TikTok like lip singing the lyrics, and they're like, "Oh, if you grew up with narcissistic parents, this isn't about a partner. Like this is about."
No, I know what you're talking about. I literally just saw it on TikTok, but I can't think of it now.
I can't remember the name of the song to save my life right now, but yeah, I mean, what the previous band did sucks. And there's friend breakups that will scar you worse than an actual like romantical breakup.
My bandmates asked if I was ready for tour, like on my dad's like wake day. I didn't even bury him yet.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was just their form of being unsure how to ask me, because like it is an odd situation to like lose your dad at 25. Like I don't think that's normal. Yeah. For like anybody. I get that. You know what I mean? But like, can we wait until he's like 6 feet under at least? Like, like not to be rude. So, I mean, it was a very go-go thing. Like we had like a 2-week tour, I think, like a month after my father passed. And it was a crazy tour. Wow. And that I think was like a determining factor. I think from that point on, that's where my band realized like, there's definitely like a change. Because when you have such highs and such lows, your spectrum of like what you can accept or like what gets you actually angry or what gets you actually happy, that starts to change. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it happened. But with Clozure, the weird thing is I remember I was like sitting in my drummer's house and we were about to drive to Nashville. I met my band in September. October, we picked the bassist. November, we booked Malcolm Springer. He's like 4 times Grammy nominated to like be our producer. And we were driving to Nashville to record 4 songs and to do a music video the very next day. So when we shot our music video, we didn't even have a mix. It was literally just like raw tracks. And we were just gonna pray to God that Malcolm didn't change it too much where
it wouldn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and so thankfully that didn't happen. But I literally had my band for like 3 months. And I remember sitting in the room with like my tour manager and my best friend, Kat. And I'm like, dude, this feels like NPC is all shit. Like, I haven't seen a single car pass by. This house is like way too nice. The kids are like way too like poised and proper. Right. And like, did you see how the bandmates like are scared of waking me up and they're asking me politely how much time I need for hair and makeup? Like, guys don't get that. So I was like, what is going on here? And then lo and behold, we went into recording. We had like 8 songs in like the 3 months that we knew each other, 2 months. And Malcolm ripped them all a new asshole. He loved my lyrics, so thank God for Malcolm liking me. And that would have been honestly a moment for the band to break up, because like our producer was really mean like on us, but it's because he has high expectations. Yeah. And it didn't break us up. Like if anything, because they were all veterans and they all have this like unity kind of concept, and they view me as like the front, I mean, I am the front woman, but they view me as like the front person. Yeah. You know what I mean? When me and Malcolm sat down and he's like, hey, which this is a song that I haven't released yet, but our next single, there is going to be 2 renditions of it. There's going to be like a rock and roll rendition and then like a very big ballad rendition where there's barely any guitar or anything. And it's very hard as a musician to have someone else have like say into like how you create. Yes. And my bandmates were like, we don't give a shit. If it sounds good, do it. And I've never had that experience before. And so that was kind of the moment where I was like, wow, this like is like my forever band now. Like it was a weird, like when you know, you know. Yeah. When you talk to like married couples and you're like, how'd you know? And they're like, when you know, you know. Yeah. That's basically like kind of what happened. It was the weirdest thing ever.
That's so cute though. I'm glad that you're
I feel like I'm in like I'm a girly girl and like I'm in like a new relationship and I'm just like fuck the other guy. Look at my new, like I feel like that. It's so weird, but I love them so much.
No, and I'm happy that you're in a safe space creating now. You know, that you feel comfortable, you can be vulnerable, and then that's gonna produce your best work in reality.
No, literally.
Is there a reason that you prefer to group up with like older band members, like more of like a dad rockish situation?
Yeah, because it is kind of like, oh my god, if you saw the band before me, it really was dad rock. I love you guys, I really do. I'm sorry for saying this.
So you brought a new fresh air.
Yeah, because I'm looking at like the cameras. Sorry. I mean, we kind of were dad rock before I was in the band, but no, it was very dad rocky. I don't really know. So like in my last band, everybody was like 30 to 40, and then like in this band, everyone's like 30 to 40. I don't know how that happened. I will say one thing. I have a bunch of friends that are like around my age, like 25, 26, 27. And I also have a bunch of friends that are like 18 and 19. It's really hard to get like the 18 to 21 group to like want to focus, I think sometimes. Like unless you really are doing like TikTok music and you're doing a bunch of covers. But I have a lot to say. Like I talk a lot. So I don't know if I can ever imagine myself like as like a TikTok artist. And in Orlando, it's very cliquey. Like I don't want to say that because like it's my hometown, and ironically that's like my top listened city for like at least a few first days. Like Orlando was like my top listened city on Spotify.
I think it's cliquey everywhere you go though,
Maybe.
to be honest.
So when I dealt with older people, I feel like they kind of have this like drive. It's like, do or don't. And I get along with that. And like having, immigrant parents and like having parents, like for instance, like you're from Venezuela, you know what it's like to have like war and like have like a not so great economy. I'm Albanian. Like I just celebrated Independence Day like 2 days ago with my family. We literally weren't even like our own country until like maybe 2003, I think. Yeah. Like we're the most recent country ever made. So when you have that like drive or that like irk and like you have like tough loving parents and a tough loving family.
No, and as an immigrant child, you face so many different things, and
it's like a natural chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
I've been making doctor's appointments since I was young.
Literally.
And
when I hear kids complain that like their parents like didn't help them with homework, I'm like,
I had to figure it out.
Speak English. Like what? Like that's what we're complaining about? Like if I failed because my parents were so European, I had enough time to let them know that I'm not failing to not fail. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's just how it was. When you're a kid, you self-manage. So I think maybe I was always just used to older people. My brothers are like 18 and 19 years older than me too.
Okay, yeah, I have a similar situation too.
I'm like just used to it.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, as like a front woman, I almost like it doesn't matter. Like one of my favorite female fronted bands, aside from Flyleaf, is like the Pretty Reckless. And like, dude, all of her dudes are like industry vets that like are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. But like Taylor Momsen gets her moment to shine, and like they see the bigger picture. And in bands, you really have to see the bigger picture. Sometimes there's just too many moving pieces, and it's hard for like the listener to hone in on what they want to listen to. When you have a little bit of like older members or like people that have been in the industry longer, I think they kind of know, hey, it's not I'm the guitarist I want to show off, or hey, I'm the drummer I can double bass pedal everything. It's more of what the song requires, and that's at least for me.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think we're dad rock now. I think
no, and I
think we're going more vampy now.
I think it was just the initial vibe that you look at the members, you're like,
yeah,
you're older than her.
Yeah, I know. And I felt bad because like one of my good friends, Josh, he's the lead singer for like Magnolia Park. Dope ass band. They started off punk. Now I feel like they're more like post-core. Like they're constantly changing up their vibe, and like I love them. We were shooting like sing-along lyric videos, and the bandmates were like, dude, we love this. And then next thing you know, I noticed that like our Instagram was like mostly just me, and I felt so bad because I'm like, wow, I don't mean to be an asshole, but like, hey, sorry. And they're like, no, just do it. Like they just don't care. And so like in my books, it works out perfectly fine. So now people think that like it was a solo project at one point. I'm like, no, there's 4 other dudes there. I'm just,
That's so funny.
I'm the social media person, I guess.
And I think even though that you were saying earlier, like, oh, female fronted, it's like its own genre at this point. I think on the Clozure page on YouTube, it doesn't say female fronted. It says like
hard rock,
like
something.
Loud vocals or something like that, like strong vocals.
Because I get annoyed by that.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'm not annoyed, but I am annoyed. So like, do I use the hashtag? Yeah, because if people
algorithm,
algorithm, and if people want to find female vocals, that's fine. But I think like when you hear management or like labels, they're like, yeah, it's a female vocal band. I'm like, so were you just like not gonna listen if you like thought it was a male, or were you like not gonna listen now that you know it's female? Like, just listen to the band.
Right.
So
as a girl though, I do have to say, like, when we say female fronted, it's something that as a girl, it makes me feel proud to see girls in rock being bad at, whether they're the drummer, whether they're playing guitar, bass, whatever. Like to me, it's like, wow, I'm so proud to see girls kicking ass, you know?
No, it is true. And I guess another thing is like with a band, there's so many instrumentalists in there. So like, if you listen to Ariana Grande, you know you're gonna listen to like a pop, like not a pop star, but you know you're gonna listen to a girl. Or if you're listening to like, you know, Madonna or Britney, you know what you're expecting before you expect it. So I guess in that degree, when you say female fronted, like you'll never know that Clozure was a female front unless you say it.
Yeah.
I get that. So like it's perfectly fine. But then, you know, juxtapose or playing devil's advocate, no one ever says like female drummer band or like female bassist band, which there's a lot of female bassist band, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of female drummer bands. I think just it's a vocal thing where people, they want to know what they're getting themselves into before they do. It's just kind of annoying sometimes when that's like your sell point.
Yes.
Because like, I'm a female vocalist, but I have a very deep and like raspy and aggressive voice. And people are shocked by it. They're like, whoa, because they're expecting like, you know, a Hayley Williams or like lighter vocals. And I'm like, no.
Well, and my friend he's releasing a song in a couple weeks. Well, at this point it's already released. He collaborated with an artist named Massey. Okay. And when I listened to the track, I was like, I love how she didn't have to come in with like super like feminine high pitched vocals. Like she's matching his pitch, his energy. Like it's not
do re mi fa sol la ti do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
I know.
It was raspy, it was rough, it was great. It fit
and
the vibe.
I feel like I don't know why, but like that's another thing too. Like I don't know how we got in this conversation, but I guess we're gonna get into it. Everyone always wants to compare you to like Paramore. I don't know what it is, because I love Paramore and I feel like I'm gonna get canceled. It's like Paramore for the rock and roll female fronted acts is like Taylor Swift or Beyonce. Like you just don't mess with that fan base.
She was the blueprint.
No, I mean, yes, but if we're gonna ask the girl who wrote Devil Effect, I'm like an Amy Lee type of chick, you know? Yeah. Like I'm thinking Evanescence, I'm thinking Joan Jett, like, but Paramore was that girl. Like social media wise, like everyone started dyeing their hair orange and red, and like she was the epitome of like a girl rock star, I guess, in the sense. Amy Lee was too, but like it was more of like a vibe rather than like, when you think of Amy Lee, you think of like Wake Me Up Inside, but you don't think of like the visuals. Mm-hmm. When you think of Paramore, you're seeing that like background of crush and like a bright orange hair.
Yeah.
So I get it. But then like when they ask me if I'm Paramore, I'm like, far from it, dude.
No, yeah.
But I can sing clean. I don't prefer it, you know, like I'm more aggressive than that.
Right. And I think with Paramore and Hayley Williams and everything is that they've just broke more into the mainstream.
Yeah. That is true.
That's just the case with it. I think it had a bigger public appeal than maybe what an Evanescence had. As the people who are involved in rock are like, yeah, I love Evanescence.
Yeah, obviously.
And Flyleaf. And
it's like Metallica t-shirts at Forever 21. It's just mainstream.
Exactly. That's what it is.
I'm not the asshole that'll ask you to like name 3 songs. I think it. I don't say it. But it is kind of like that. And then everyone's like, Paramore? And I'm like, do we know Evanescence? No? Oh, well, damn. Do we know In This Moment, maybe? No? Okay, then yeah, like Paramore. Yeah. We'll go with that. That's okay.
You mentioned that when you were a kid, you would sneak into the coffee shops and everything to be part of your local scene.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how involved were you? Did you end up having a local band like that when you were younger? Or was it something like, oh, I want to be like them?
So it was more like I want to be like them. There was this one artist. I hated her and then I loved her and now we're cool. So it's interesting. Look, literally, that's the music industry for you. Her name was Mandy Marie, I think is what she goes by, but she changes it up a lot. And I remember I was like amazed by her. Mm. And I made a band with my best friend, Audielle, but like it wasn't like anything serious. I think we had like 3 originals and then we would just do covers. And I remember I was like obsessed with her and she didn't like me because she thought I was like this like annoying young girl that like was like 18 or 19 trying to get into the music industry. So I fucking hated her afterwards. And then when I joined the Dev, ironically, we had like this like really aha moment where I talked to her for the first time, not as like a fan or like, because she was going through stuff too. She was like 21 at the time and I was like 16 when I was like in love with her. She was like a local artist. So like when I talked to her and I finally joined my first real band, like we had like this really cool moment where she was like, oh, you mean like this, this, and this? Like we were able to like reference times that we went through. Mm-hmm. And you know, that was the first time that I don't think I was like a onlooker into the music industry or like the scene, but I was actually like part of it. To be completely honest, until I joined my like previous band, I really was just like a fan. Like I would just go to a bunch of shows. I wore a bunch of band tees. Like if I could find a show for under $50, like majority of my money was like spent on that. And they didn't have to be massive concerts. Mm-hmm. When I joined my last band, that's kind of when I took it more seriously. And then now with Clozure, now it actually feels serious because like sometimes people will actually recognize me, which is the weirdest fucking thing ever. I have a video of it where the girl's like, "Are you the original singer so-and-so?" And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up. Wait, what?" I was like just talking to Chris, the drummer for Dashboard Confessionals, and I was like bullshitting it with like, you know, a drummer from like a different band. So I'm like having like a bit of a girl moment.
Right.
And the talent show that I had to like sneak in and lie into, I sang the Secondhand Serenade, the best thing about the night's that we're not fighting. So ironically, I went to an emo night and watched the lead singer of that dude sing that song while hanging out with like, you know, the drummer of Dashboard Confessional. So for a girl to be like, "Are you the singer?" It was like a full circle moment. Like I used to sneak into talent shows to sing like Secondhand Serenade, and now I'm watching Secondhand Serenade and someone actually knows who the fuck I am.
That's insane.
It was a full circle moment.
That's insane.
So yeah, I was
just people recognizing you as like,
oh right? I feel like I look so average day to day. You know, like obviously in music videos I'm wearing a corset and I'm dressed like sexy as all hell, but like I'm wearing like flip-flops right now.
Right.
So like clearly there's that, you know? But it was a moment. Yeah, I was definitely more of a fan for like the longest time.
Okay.
Up until like 2-3 years ago, I think I considered myself like an actual artist.
That's cool. I love that you've been involved in music your whole life, and that
still am.
Right. No, and I think
absolutely still am.
A big part of being in the music industry is still supporting it and supporting everybody, independent
100%.
Artists, larger artists, whoever they are, honestly.
I mean, I think that's the only reason why like maybe Closure's even done that well was because they don't have a bad reputation with like the people like, so I have some guitarists that are like in Alabama, some of us are in Kentucky, I'm in Florida, so like we're everywhere, you know what I mean? Which you can do that nowadays because of like digital transfer files and whatnot. But because they had a good reputation and I have a decent reputation of getting along with everybody, it's like the best supporters are the ones that also love music just as much, and half the time they're artists too.
Right.
So like I was able to ask like my friends like, "Hey, what did you guys do? Like who did you guys use for a videographer? Or like, what do you think of this?" Like I actually got to call on to like a lot of friends to write The Devil Effect or to write all the other singles that I have stocked up for this year.
Oh, we're so excited for that.
Oh, I'm excited too.
We are going to jump into, if I can find my phone,
yeah,
some relationship advice for Reddit.
Ooh, don't know if I'm the person to ask.
61 male found ultrasound pictures of 58-year-old female from a long time ago. They've been together 39 years.
Okay.
Should I just forget that I found them? I found pictures with all our family pictures and 5 ultrasound pictures of with my wife's name on it. The date was from the late 90s and basically just, you know, hospital ultrasound.
Yes.
And he knows that they had a miscarriage between the 2 kids that they had. We've been married for 35 years. I don't know how to feel about this. She never said she was pregnant, and I doubt we even had sex the year of the ultrasound. We had a dead bedroom for 25 years, and we would go at least 6 months between and sometimes over a year. I always felt like she was cheating on me from the marriage early on in the 80s to early 2000s, but when we got cell phones in that time. Anyways, he basically thinks that, you know, he was cheated on. He was cheated on. She was probably pregnant and aborted.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't know. Am I the person to ask this question? Because I just wrote a horrible breakup song for a band. Okay, so A, therapy 101. A tactic that you use for one person is not the tactic for everybody.
Right.
So I think what needs to happen first is like he needs to like be able to like look into the mirror and figure out if he's like codependent on her or like self-dependent. Mm-hmm. Because I was a codependent person for like a long time, you know, like now me and my band now, I mean, I'm not. So like, that's why I don't fear how to say things or how to view myself. And I make decisions more swiftly. So I guess the first thing is just like, look at yourself, see if you're happy with yourself and if you're happy with the situation that you're in. And if you yourself are able to start to make big decisions. Because I think a lot of people feel like they're forced to do something immediately because they got information when like, you're not promised tomorrow, nor are you promised that the thing has to be done today. So like that would be my first advice. And if he feels like he's fit to like, make a big decision, or he feels like he's like, has enough support to do so, I would confront the situation. Right. Because people make mistakes. And I don't know if the person cheated or not. And I can't tell you if that's something that you want to forgive. I've seen people go through it and like they've cheated and then somehow they work it together, because it is two people. And the only way for someone to cheat is if that person allowed the other person to come into the relationship. So it's like a bond. If another person came into the bond, someone fucked up and allowed it. That's how I view relationships. Unless you're like polyamorous, but then yet again, you still have to accept that person then. So the first question would be like, you have to be able to accept some faults. Why was there like a, separation where that person felt the need to? Right. Or why are you attracting somebody that needs attention from everybody? See, that's where you have to look in the mirror and kind of figure out yourself, and then have that conversation. If that person like figures out every other answer and they're not telling the truth, you need to be able to either accept the lie for what it is, or basically tell them fuck off if you want to move on. Or if there's another reason and maybe she just wanted to hide it from you because she thought that you would not accept something or whatever, then you're able to figure out like that. It's just, you can't give like advice like that online.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a deep rabbit hole. And at this point, like my advice would be, it's like, if you're in your late 50s and 60s and you thought she was cheating 30 years ago, what does that change now?
Well, that's the thing. But devil's advocate here, right? God, right? I really shouldn't have written devil's advocate, because everyone's going to think I'm like dark and whatnot. I've already had people think I'm Satanists now. It's interesting. Devil's advocate, if that happened 30 years ago, now you genuinely have to understand, are there layers to this? So like you might have like dug a hole and found a singular bone, but is there like a whole entire fucking skeleton? Right. Of like other like mischief, is that the word? Mischief, yeah. Mischief and like denials and lies and whatnot. Right. And that's where that's the first kind of like point that I made, is you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that like you could be opening up a can of worms. So like you got to be good. Like you got to know where you stand with yourself and like the support that you have. Because even if you break up at 50 something years old, we're in a day and age where there's like 15 different dating apps.
For you. Literally.
There's dating apps for senior citizens. Move to the villages in Florida. Yeah. Have a fun time. I've heard some crazy stories. So like, it's not even like the age anymore. I mean, there's artists that come out and get famous at 45 years old. Yeah. Back in the 90s, that would have never happened.
For sure.
So it's just, figure out if you're cool to like, acknowledge it, A. B, when you get the information, don't do anything because of somebody else or because of how people are going to like, judge you. Do it for your genuine sake of happiness, because when you're a happier person, you treat people around you better. And then if you choose to accept it, if anyone judges you for it, tell them to fuck off. That's really all you can do with any situation though.
Yeah, I think that's a good step-by-step. Thank you for the advice. This is your shameless plug moment. You can let that camera know anything you need to let them know about you or Clozure.
Hi, I'm Nikollaj, the lead singer of Clozure. We just released a song on February 9th called The Devil Effect. It's really rowdy. It's really dark. It's like an anti-Valentine's Day themed anthem to basically tell whoever you don't like to go fuck themselves. If you're interested in that song, by all means, you can go on to officialclozure.com. However, it is Clozure with a Z. So it's CLOZURE. And you can just find us on all platforms, Official Clozure. And yeah, sorry to the dude that found the ultrasounds though. If you need that song, I got it for you. I'll like send it to you for free. You don't have to purchase it because you might need it.
Thank you so much for coming out, Nikollaj. I had a fun time chatting with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's not the last time. We'll see each other next week in the Senior Citizen Podcast.
Woo!